right, we will move on to 6A. Red Wing Sister City Student Exchange Program presentation. We had 5 students that were selected to serve as ambassadors for the city of Red Wing and travel to our sister city in Ikata, Japan on July 21st. This group would like to thank the City Council and the community for their support of this program and share some of their experiences and photos from Japan.
Konbanwa. All right, let's see. We'll try it this way. Konbanwa.
Konbanwa.
So I just said good evening. It's after 6 o'clock. So in Japan, instead of just saying hello, it's good evening. If it's morning, it's not hello, it's good morning. If it's afternoon, you switch that again. So we had kind of a whirlwind, not only trip and experience, but trying to find the right words to speak, since we don't speak Japanese all that fluently. I'm Gretchen Anderson. I had the great good fortune to be chosen to be the chaperone to take the 5 students, and incidentally, they are my former students. I taught many years of music out at Burnside Elementary and all of the other elementaries here in town, and so I already had the bonus of knowing the kids, and they were 5 really, really super kids. So we are here tonight, as Kim says, to thank you. And so I have to say not just thank you, but I have to say, domo arigato gozaimasu. And that's the most formal way of saying thank you in the Japanese language. And we did that often. And you notice, even for 2 weeks being there, you say these words, you can't help but bow. The Japanese are a very polite, a very formal culture of people, and they will meet you on the street. They've never seen you before. And if you say konnichiwa, there's a bow that comes from everybody, even with the head. When we were on the train systems, the attendants would step through the doors with their white gloves on, and they would, before they did anything, they bowed to all of us in the train carriage, and then they went on down the aisle to do what they needed to do. So very interesting, just one little piece of life in a different viewpoint than we have from living in Red Wing. I also, before I let the students come up and share a little bit with you, also want to say thank you for not just your physical, your moral support, but also for your financial support. What you gave me as the chaperone was a huge, huge piece to sending us over. And the students will tell you also what a difference it made to go from either being able to, or being responsible to pay for the whole trip, which is considerable, or a small portion. You help them out with a large portion. So of our 5 students, vacation has claimed a couple, and sports have claimed the other one. So as we do these little dog, or I call them kind of like horse and pony shows around town saying thank you or look what we did, we've had a variety of some are here and some are there. So I'm going to start with Brianna Beck. Say your name and your age.
Hello, my name is Brianna Beck. I am 14 years old, and I am going to be a freshman this year.
I'm Graham Aiken. I'm 14 years old, and I will also be a freshman.
So I also asked them for the evening not only to tell you who they are and what grade they are in, but and besides thank you also for the support, what was something that truly impacted them on this trip? And I said, not because we went to the Tokyo Sky Tree and looked down and went, oh wow, look at all the people down there. What was it that made you a different person, or what did you see in a new light? So Brianna, let's hear it.
So it's a bit hard to word this, but one way I'd say that it impacted me was how little history we have compared to them. Like, everywhere you go, every town had a shrine that was like a couple hundred years old usually. One we went to had a statue of Buddha, and that statue and the shrine was about 450 years old, still kept nice as it was back then.
Very nice, thank you.
I was a little nervous going over because it was the first time I've been on a really big trip, for 2 weeks without your parents in a big foreign country halfway across the world. It was kind of heartwarming to see that people there were also welcoming, and I didn't have to worry about much overall, and that people are really not too different than we think they are.
Weston Wyatt, who will be a junior this year, sent me a message to my request. Weston says, "The thing I found to be meaningful to me was how welcoming everyone was. They wanted us to feel like we had another home, and they were successful. Even if I travel around the world again, I don't know if I'll ever get that same feeling of being at home while being away from home." So I think that can kind of sum up the wonderful reception we got from the people of Ikata. So thrilled to have us there. They were bending over backwards to make things right for us. All of the many host families that the students were in, the hotel that I stayed in, the little hotel owner, I don't think had ever seen a Caucasian woman with white hair before. His hotel was mostly working class business travelers. He waited on me hand and foot every day and dragged my suitcase across the parking lot at the end to get me to the bus. So just absolutely a wonderful experience. You have a couple of show and tell items here too. The chairman of the Sister City Committee, Mr. Hirose, had a great time in choosing gifts for all of us. So I got not only this amazing samurai helmet, but we all got katana. Whoops, got the wrong one there. Which look quite real. They feel quite real. They're not. But can you imagine what happened when we all came home, packed them in our suitcases, and went through TSA? It was not a happy time. We had the airport police in the first airport go through all 6 suitcases, come out with their white gloves. It was the paper cut test to see if this was a real sword, because of course you can't bring them out of Japan. The metal detector. We all 6 passed. Then I took this in a shopping bag through TSA upstairs. Mistake. There was a little sword inside that I didn't realize. So it was kind of a funny thing now, but we were worried we might not make it home. So we told the chairman, no more swords for the Red Wing kids coming next year. And I know just for time's sake, we cannot go through our whole presentation, so I just wanted to show you a few pieces here. So if you're looking up on the map, we were in what would be that Tokushima. If you can look down, it's the smallest of the 4 main islands of Japan, and we were at this very, very tiniest, where the cursor is showing you, peninsula. And it is in what's called the Ehime Prefecture. So here's the island, the smallest island, and then Ikata is right here under the M. And the whole population of Ikata is spread out over this peninsula, about 9,000 people over this maybe 30 kilometer long, mountainous, very high, rocky peninsula. And most of the time, prior to that, we looked like this, either dragging our suitcases through the streets of Tokyo or Kyoto or Hiroshima, or with our intrepid interpreter and American liaison who worked in Ikata for 2 years, trying to figure out which train to take. And we just don't have to deal with this in Red Wing. Aren't you glad? Because it was quite the system to go through a major city like that. I'm just going to flip through a few of these and let's Graham go ahead and tell them a little bit about this hotel.
This was in our third night, and this was in Kyoto. This was a more traditional hotel. It wasn't like a American hotel. We slept on the floor, and we had a really exotic, interesting breakfast that was made up of, kelp, an egg with soup, and some pickled vegetables. It was really interesting.
Sounds good to me.
Just tell them.
This was a shrine in Kyoto. We saw 3 in one day when we were taking a bus tour around the city. This was the Golden Palace, which was really, really pretty. And then we also, later in the trip, went to Hiroshima and Peace Park, where we saw the before picture and then what it looks like today without any intervention since the bomb has dropped.
Okay, so Brianna, I'm going to scoot ahead here. Speaking of being welcomed in a most generous manner, this brought tears to my eyes when we got off the bus in Ikata after the 3 days of traveling, and here's who and what were waiting for us. It was really, really a special time.
So there's lots of differences in food. In that picture, it's like curry, isn't it?
Yep, like a pork curry.
And then those are chopsticks, which I could use pretty well because I practice, but
Quit bragging.
no. And that's ramen, much different, much better than American ramen.
Then the 99-cent ones we buy in the grocery store. Yeah, totally different product.
That is green tea ice cream. It's more like soft serve, but it's really good. That was the breakfast in the ryokan, the traditional hotel. That is our farewell grill out. And there was like pig tongue and intestine there, and lots of vegetables and different types of meat to choose from.
And the kids were all excellent. They tried everything. We talked about being tolerant of everything when we went there. And I have to say that there might have been something that wasn't exactly their cup of tea, but they all tried it. And some found that, hey, I like this, and I didn't think so. So Graham, you want to tell a little bit about this?
This was an English class that we went to. My first host parent was actually an English teacher, and she spoke pretty good English considering what others spoke. And they were very good with their introductions, and they just were touching on the basic subject of English. This was a popular game called watermelon smashing, and they would use their English directions to guide us, left, right, forward, and then to hit the watermelon.
And that is Graham right there in fine form, and he did. Smack dab in half.
Yep, and then we ate it after, and it was really, really good watermelon.
The woman on the right is Toshiko Sasaki. She's a wonderful woman. She's been here before. She's a member of their Sister City Commission. She came over with the delegation, so some of you may know her from the past or got a chance to meet her. She was very, very kind to me. My being in the hotel and not with the host family, she came often and got me and took me different places.
This was a preschool we went to just to kind of experience what the basic level, and we played a couple games with them, and they were very fun. We went to like a tea ceremony and also kind of a, what would you call it? It
was a calligraphy and a meditation session. And you see how we're all kneeling there? That doesn't work well for me at my age to stay there for a half an hour or 45 minutes. So I got to move around a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we'll skip that.
This was the tree planting ceremony that we have in their version of the Red Wing Park, which has a smaller scale of the, what is it?
The teepee.
The teepee. Mm-hmm. And we all partook in this, and we all took a shovel of dirt and planted the tree. And they did the same in Kavo Park when they came here.
It's the mayor to my left, the mayor of Ikata, and some of the other town officials. And then I'll have Brianna talk about this last slide that we'll show you.
So these are yukatas, traditional summer wear. And they're a bit of work to put on. The guys had it much easier. Just one thing with the... Did you have a belt thingy? No. No belt. And we took a class on a dance and how to put them on. And the crowning last big event then was their festival. Just as we have River City Days the Sunday after we came back, theirs was called Kinahaya Festival. And lots of interesting things. We all danced out in the street, and their little, or their big mascot that I'm wearing on the back of my shirt his tail represents the jagged peninsula of Ikata. So it was, again, just overall, in a nutshell, a fabulous trip that none of us are going to forget. I hope not ever, but for sure not for a long time. And again, thank you for being so generous to us. I don't know what else I can say. Should we say arigatou gozaimasu?
Arigato gozaimasu.